Hello and welcome to the model answers of human rights. Right. So we had the midsem examination, and I've gone through the copies of most of you, and the scores will be released soon. So before that, I just thought that I will make a video of the answers or the model answers which are expected from your side. Now, in order to write answers, you must be aware of that. First thing is time management. I've already made a lot of videos on that. I have also sent you the link for those things, but most of you have not either gone through or have followed the rules. But doesn't matter. It depends on you whether you will go through all those things and try to understand that what is expected in a humanities and social sciences answer. But before I start with the model answers, let me give you a few feedback, which I think is going to be very important for you people, especially when you are taking the examination the next time. The first thing is that many of you are providing a lot of factual data in the answer. But as you have seen the question paper, there was no requirement of factual data apart from the multiple choice questions, which most of you have got it right. And many of you have scored 5 out of 5 in that. But when we start with the short type questions as well as the descriptive type questions, many of you have written a lot of data. Like one student I remember has written all the articles of the UDHR, which is of no use over there. Similarly, many of you have given us a lot of factual data. Many of you have picked up lines from Wikipedia directly, and also some other links I can always share with you, but it will be of no use. It was more important for you to understand that you have to write things in your own words. That means you have to rephrase it, because whatever is available on the internet, if you put it directly on the answer or on your answer sheet, then it does not make any sense, and it defeats the purpose of an examination. The purpose of examination is to learn, is to understand, as well as to think. And neither of them were addressed by you people. So I just thought that, okay, maybe it's time for me to provide you or supply you with some model answers which will be helpful for you guys, how to write a proper answer, and how to properly manage the time, and try to understand that the word limit of the questions you should not cross. In fact, you can write even 10 to 15% less than the word limit. So if you are expected to write say 250 words, you can write up to 225 or even 220. Does not matter, it's fine. Similarly, when you are asked to write 4 to 5 sentences, you can write even a 3 sentence answer or a 2 sentence answer, because there was just a requirement of 2 things which needs to be explained, right? So you could have written it. And moreover, if you are writing a complex sentence, so 4 sentences can be 2 sentences, or 5 sentences even can be 2 sentences. So it does not matter much. But most of you have not followed it properly. So with this, let us start with the question paper. Okay. So, okay, now you can see the question paper. So the question paper must have come in this fashion, right? So the first thing is that you can always make a small file of your name and entry number and all these things. So that helps you enormously in saving time, because many a times you are just typing and all these things, which is taking a lot of time. So as you go to the next section, you see that your name and your entry number are required. So you can put your name over here and your entry number over here and move fast to the next section, right? So if we go to the next section, so we have objective type questions over here. Now the information was that choose the most appropriate option. 1 mark each question was there. So Geladira is associated with what? So you know, and most of you have got it right, that it's torture. It's a torture technique, right? So it is basically refrigeration kind of thing. So this was the thing. Now the second question was which of the following statement is true? Now Amnesty International backs resort to violence by political opposition groups. You know that it's false statement, because Amnesty International neither supports nor condemns the political opposition groups as well as the government policies, right? So Amnesty International objurgates government policy of using military force in fighting against armed opposition movements. So this is also a false statement. Amnesty International supports minimum human standards that should be respected by the governments and armed opposition groups alike. Yes, this is the right statement. So the answer was C over here. Now, if you see the next question, which of the following statement is true? Repeated studies have concluded that pornography is a significant cause of sexual crime. No, no repeated studies have found that. Then repeated studies have concluded that consumption of pornography is sufficient to incite violent sexual crime. No, again, no repeated study have found that. Then there is a considerable agreement among social science researchers as well as liberal and feminist philosophers that pornography is one of the cause of violent sexual crime. No, because there is considerable disagreement rather than agreement. So all of the above is also wrong. So the answer will be none of the above. Okay. Now the next question was human rights are, whether they are universal, whether they are controversial, both universal and controversial, neither universal nor controversial. The answer was that it is both universal as well as controversial, and most of you have got it right. And last question, both social rights and ragging are genuine human rights violations. Now, there were 2 points of views which were expressed in this question, and the good thing about this question was that both of the answers are right. Most of you have written yes, as they ensure the dignity and well-being of human being, but if you would have written no, as they set high standards and are parochial by nature. So there's also a very strong point of view which is expressed, and since this question was about the point of view, so both the answers were right. So it does not matter what, if you answer it first or if you answer it second, you will get marks for it. Yeah, only case when you will not get answer for or say marks for this question is that you have not attempted this question. Okay, so this was the objective type questions, and I do not think so that it will take more than 2 minutes to complete this part. Okay, let us go to the next part. The next part was that you have to write short notes on these 5: human rights issues and human rights violations, humanitarian intervention versus crime against humanity, cognitive dissonance versus authoritarian personality, prisoners of conscience versus conscientious objection, and extrajudicial executions versus custodial deaths. So I have made a file of it. So let us see that how you need to attempt a 4 to 5 sentences answer. Like the question was about human rights issues versus human rights violations. So you can see that I have written human rights, HR, just to make it short, are basic rights which ensures dignity of human beings. HR issues like rape or domestic violence, etc., are those which are widespread in the society, though the state is neither directly nor indirectly involved. However, state is involved in HR violations like torture, censorship, etc. In a way, issues are societal, whereas violations are political. So a very short and simple answer. You do not require much in these questions, right? Now, the next question was humanitarian intervention versus crime against humanity. So if you see the answer writing, right, because most of you have written the answer as picked up from places. I will not like to name it, but you know it. Suppose there is a widespread human rights violation occurring in a state A. Now, if a state B or a group of states use military force against state A, usually with the consent of UN, then it is called humanitarian intervention. Moreover, the state A and its leader are tried for their inhuman acts. These acts are called crime against humanity. So it was again a very simple question and a very simple answer which can be written rather than the things which you are picking up from somewhere. Now what happens is, once you are picking up things from somewhere, so you feel like, okay, this line is also good, this line is also good, and you are trying to write it down because you try to write the best answer. And in that way, you are losing a lot of time. And most of you have written very long answers for these things, which was not required, and you lost valuable time. And because of that, you could not attempt the whole of the question paper properly. That was the thing, because most of you have missed out at least one question. Many of you have missed out even 2 questions. Many of you even have 3 questions. And that is curtains for it. The next question was cognitive dissonance versus authoritarian personality. So cognitive dissonance is holding confounding beliefs and attempts to justify. Fine, confounding or contradicting. Whereas authoritarian personality is a belief in superiority of oneself or the associated clan compared to some other people or their clan. This result in harsh and utterly inhuman behavior towards the perceived inferior. Both CD and AP are instrumental in rationalizing torture and its use. Because look, you can write about these things from a psychological point of view a lot. There are a lot of things which you can write. But from a human rights perspective, you should understand that these terminologies are basically explaining the psyche of a torturer, right? Or why people go on to torture somebody and how they rationalize it. So if you bring that point up, that is all which we require in human rights. Moreover, this was a question which was asked for a short question, right? Short note. So you should not write more than this. And this is the requirement. You need not write who gave this theory in 1957 and he or she has given that theory and so on, which was all meaningless because you are not getting marks for it. Moreover, if you are copying and everybody is writing the same thing, so you lose marks for that as well. Okay. Next question was prisoners of conscience versus conscientious objection. So those people who have criticized or condemned states act without resorting to violence and are imprisoned are called prisoners of conscience. Now, many of you have neither written that they are imprisoned or many of you have not written that they have not resorted to violence. And this misses out on the point, right? So they are called POC. On the other hand, those people who are against conscription and do not want to serve the war machinery are understood as conscientious objectors, like CO. So Amnesty International calls for immediate release of POC and rallies for CO. So this is another thing which you can add. Even if you do not write the last line, still it is fine. Next question was about extrajudicial execution versus custodial deaths. So extrajudicial executions are more commonly known as encounters. This is something which we have discussed already. EJE is killing of an individual who is convicted without the consent of judiciary by law enforcing authority, especially police. Custodial deaths, on the other hand, is killing of an individual in judicial custody, mostly due to torture. Both are human rights violations. So simple things like these will make your answer better, and also they look more comprehensive by nature, because if you are attempting these questions from a proper point of view, because the problem with us is that we somehow do not write what is asked. This is the biggest problem. This is a very important thing which you should all understand. Try to address the question. Do not try to write all the informations which you have, or all the things which you have marked, which you have remembered, which you have crammed and so on. Because ultimately the thing which has been asked, if it is left or if it is unaddressed, then it makes no sense. And since you are writing so many things, you are writing so much of information in those questions or in those answers, you are missing out. You are missing the point. You are not properly writing the answer. And that is the most important thing when you are writing a short question, right? Like 50 words answer, or 40 words answer, 20 words answer, 30 words answer. So in those cases, you should always be having this thing in your mind very clear, very, very clear, that what is asked. And that is something which I need to address. Because if I am writing all the information which I have got, it is not making sense to the evaluator or to any person who is checking your copy, because he or she is also provided with, usually in conventional examination, what happens is that once a question paper comes, so you are given the examiner is provided with a model answer sheet. So many a times these model answer sheets are taken and seen that whether this person is writing as per or close to the model answers. And if you are not writing as per that, then also you are losing marks. Second thing, and this is something which I have already discussed in those videos as well, but many of you have not seen it. In humanities and social sciences, you do not write answers which are like as a column. That, okay, I'm telling the differences between the two things, so I'm putting a line in between, then I'm writing, okay, this happens over here and that happens here. What it says that you are not having a proper expression. Your expression is challenged. On the other hand, if you are writing a paragraph answer, if you are writing an answer like this and this and this, that helps, and that fetches you more marks than when you are writing in a tabulated form. Tabulated answers are a requirement of sciences. Tabulated answers are a requirement of engineering. Though we are not deducing marks for that, But try to understand those answers are not going to be helpful for you, especially when you are taking an examination which is having humanities and social sciences. Okay. So these are certain things which I wanted to tell. Now let us move on to the essay type questions. Okay. Okay. Here is the first essay question which was given to you. It reads like this. While it is true that African and Asian governments currently accept the Universal Declaration and have signed various human rights treaties, such a formalistic response fails to capture the cultural differences in the appreciation of what human rights are about and what new obligations ought to be included in the catalogue. I have taken this thing from Andrew Clapman's Human Rights, a very, very short introduction. Elucidate. Now, the thing is that this is the question. You try to understand the question. Elucidate the role and impact of cultural differences in human rights and its application worldwide. So you need to address this question. Now, this is a model answer which I can supply to you. Human beings usually follow their own culture and are hostile towards an alien one. Allegedly, human rights are its enshrined principles are biased towards developed Western societies and their way of life. Thus, cultural differences have often downplayed a significant but obstructing role in applying the ideals of human rights globally. It is true that most Asian and African countries are signatories of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In addition to these nations have incorporated the principles of UDHR in their constitutions, legal codes, etc. However, not all guidelines and directives could be implemented as they are economically demanding. For example, social rights which require progressive implementation are still a distant dream in most of these countries. Moreover, heterogeneous population, marginalized sections of society, lack of basic amenities, poor educational facilities, corruption, international debt, and so on play a havoc and give rise to chaotic situations. Similarly, there is a lack of public acceptance and the will to follow the libertarian ideals of UDHR in the East. Here, the common populace is still not ready to embrace the Western value system as they fear its repercussions, which comprises divided families and individualism. Furthermore, heterogeneous population and absence of unanimity often lead to hostilities, and a common world order is seen as hegemonies that threatens indigenousness. Thus, it is not only social rights that require gradual implementation, but the very philosophy of human rights too awaits a more homogeneous world order. Now, the whole point of writing this answer was to tell that there are cultural differences in this world and people do not perceive culture of some other community with a lot of say they do not welcome, they are more hostile towards it and they fear the repercussions of it. So given that there is still a equal world order which we require and which we can frame so that the world becomes a better place and a very equal place to stay, right? So these things are certain things which you should be including in your answers, because if you are not taking these things in your mind or in your answer, then your answer is losing its value, right? Okay, let us go to the next question. The next question was this paragraph. I will read for you. The Sunday Telegraph, give us back our rights. The Afghans who hijacked a civilian airliner are rewarded with a judgment that they are entitled to stay in Britain at the taxpayer's expense. Foreign terrorists who reportedly plot the murders of hundreds of British civilians cannot be deported back to their countries of origin, nor may they be detained here. Murderers and rapists are entitled to have any decision to keep them in prison reviewed by a judicial hearing, at which they must be represented by a lawyer, and as a result, an intimidated probation service frees killers who go on to murder fresh victims. The British public is increasingly worried by judgments whose effect is to rank the rights of criminals higher than those of law-abiding citizens. As a result, the whole notion of human rights is becoming discredited. Rather than basic protections against arbitrary power, human rights are now seen as legal fictions that prevent the police, the intelligence services, and other government agencies from doing what they believe needs to be done in order to safeguard the nation. So you can see that there is a pain which is there by a person or by a group of people who feel that we are honest taxpayers, we are law-abiding citizens, and why these criminals, why these repeat offenders are getting their way, and we are the people who are paying for it, right? So this is the answer. The given passage from the Sunday Telegraph, entitled "Give Us Our Rights Back," is an outcry and plight of any honest citizen of Britain to do away with human rights and demand stringent measures against the offenders and lawbreakers. It also highlights the failure of state in defending the frontiers and providing crimeless and impeccable governance. Britain has been in the helm of affairs in matters related to human rights. It is not a state which has poor human rights record, but has been subjected to problems associated with it. From terror attacks to illegal immigrants, Britain has seen it all. In such a scenario, it is natural for the natives to complain and show discontent against state's action and its commitment to uphold human rights of those who are perpetrators and repeat offenders. Prima facie, human rights are seen more concerned about the wrongdoer than the aggrieved. It endorses the principle of justice, that is, someone is innocent until proven guilty, and thus a defendant has all the rights and enjoy immunity. This irks the common people as it is seen as state's protection to a convict. Delayed and deferred judgments, as well as judicial gimmicks to save the suspect, adds to this. Thus, Britain witnesses public outrage against the endorsees of human rights and its suspects. The solution to the above dilemma lies in speedy trial and efficient state mechanism to deal with any threat which challenges its integrity rather than eschewing human rights and its ideals. So you can see that there is a small conclusion or a small solution which is also provided with this question. Apart from what you have seen above is something which is written in your own words, right? So these are certain things which you should follow, which you should keep in mind when you are writing an answer, because if you are not bringing those things up again, it does not make sense. So let us come to the third question, right? So you have seen this cartoon. This is the cartoon that there is a lady who is standing with this pan or the weighing machine, as you can see, and she's saying, "Are you colluding with CIA and their secret prisons?" So somebody is saying, "Colluding? Us?" Then the other person is saying, "You can't be serious." The other person is saying, "That's laughable." Somebody is saying, "Tell me another joke, you know, what a hoot, what a comedian. She should be on stage." And then you can see at the back of the cartoon that there are some people who are saying that human rights law is now officially a joke, right? So you can again see that there is something about the state repression which is going on. And I have given you the data from this thing, that this cartoon from The Economist of 10 June 2006 was published as Swiss Senator Dick Marty of the Council of Europe published his report on alleged secret detentions and unlawful interstate transfers involving Council of Europe member states. It evokes the non-cooperation of most European governments. In September 2006, President Bush acknowledged that the United States has indeed established secret detention centers outside its borders, and that the suspects held there had since been transferred to Guantanamo Bay. The European Parliament, in a separate investigation, later complained of the failure of European governments to cooperate in its investigation of the use of European countries by the CIA for the transportation and illegal detention of prisoners. So you can see. Now the question is this: summarize the symbolic depiction as expressed in the cartoon with respect to torture practices spread across the world. Okay, so this is the question which you have to address. Now, if you see the answer, torture is arguably state's most draconian and dreadful mechanism to suppress dissent and silence critics and criticisms. The purpose of torture is often justified as a way to elicit information, but this explanation seems oversimplistic to its opponents. Secret detention centers and unlawful interstate transfers are an affront to individuals' freedom of expression and healthy discourses. The sarcastic cartoon published in The Economist of the 10th day of June in the year 2006 is a political satire that brings to our attention practices prevalent in Europe and the United States of America. Moreover, torture is found everywhere in this world, where a state uses its authority to not only silence people, but to make them betray others. It not only re-establishes state's mandate, but also spreads a silent message: the state is infallible. It is now a well-established fact that gross human rights violations take place in torture chambers. Torture techniques are insanely atrocious and reverses the justice principle by pronouncing you are guilty unless proven innocent. People sometimes lose their lives and sometimes are found non-guilty. A human being who has been subjected to torture no more remains a human being, rather relegated to a new status, subhuman being or an animal perhaps. Nevertheless, torture is still the only way to extract any information which someone is not willing to provide normally. There is a need to develop humane and painless ways with medical involvement and devise techniques for unearthing information rather than continuing with these inhuman ones. So as you can see that these questions and the time which is required to write these answers, if I tell you, because I also wrote these answers and very honestly speaking, I have not attempted the objectives for sure, right? But it took me exactly 38 minutes to write these three answers, okay? And I was typing it down. You can say that typing speed is slow or fast, but believe me, you can always come to my cabin and you can see how fast I type. I do not type very fast. And if you ask me to write, I think so that I will write it even before I can type. Okay, so it took me 38 minutes exactly to write the three answers and the 5 short answers. Okay, so if I consider it to be a 45 minutes thing, because okay, you can always say that I'm prepared, you know, because I was knowing the question paper before. You have to think about that question paper. I understand, and it's very true that once you have to start first thinking and then write, so it takes a little bit of time. But how much time? It should have taken 40 minutes, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, 55 minutes, 1 hour. If you see, I have given you more than 1 hour, 17 minutes, right? I have exactly given 1 hour, 17 minutes before I stopped every one of you. Okay, so most of you could submit, but at least 5 to 6 students we have found that they could not submit on time and they are taking the re-examination. Does not matter. But the thing is that you should not leave a question. You should try to write, and please do not try to fool the teacher, because you are just repeating the question, or you are writing all the articles, or you are just, you know, reframing the same thing again and again. And people have written so many stuff which I do not want to say over here. That defeats the purpose of examination. Rather than, what is important for us is that you should start thinking that you need to develop a perspective for answers, right? Or you need to develop a perspective for what is it which you should include in your answers. Because once you do that, then you are an educated individual, you are a mature individual, and you have a point of view of your own. I should not be the person, and therefore I hate to write model answers and show it to students, because okay, I tried to be very neutral with these answers, but still I know that there must be a hint of, or there must be a tinge of some kind of things which I have written, and you may feel like that, okay, our teacher is biased towards this or biased towards that, and so on. But I still try to write very neutral answers. The whole point is that you should have your own point of view, and I will defend your point of view, but you need to defend it for yourself as well. I have no objections in listening to human rights are not good. I have no objections in listening to this, that human rights are very meaningful. I have no objections in hearing to this or reading this, that torture is important, or torture is not important, censorship is required or censorship is not required. I just see how well you are managing this stuff and how well you are arguing for yourself, because that is what is important. You can have a different point of view, and that's the way our world should be. We should all have different point of views, but then we can also stay in peace, and that's the whole idea. So thank you very much for the patience listening and the viewership, and I hope that you do better and better and better next time. Thank you.